Dambe, a form of boxing native to northern Nigeria. It's fighting, it's combat in the purest sense of the word.
Dambe is a very interesting combat sport because of its ruthlessness and its warfare in nature.
We have two fighters in a sandpit, one hand wrapped in rope, one hand unwrapped, used to block and maneuver. And they're just going after each other. Then mixed in with amazing moments with musicians and crowd interaction, where these athletes who are not just athletes, these athletes who are huge showmen who, as much as they love the fighting, they love showing off to the crowd. So invested in what Dambe means to them, that every time they step on the sand, they're putting it all on the line.
When athletes fight, you are allowed to hit around the body. Mostly, they aim for the head for a knockout, but you are allowed to hit any other part of the body with your wrapped arm. The arms are wrapped in ropes made of fabrics, so that it forms a good cushion to the skin.
Boxing is cool, I love boxing. MMA is cool, I love MMA. But you can't match the essence and rawness and grittiness of Dambe anywhere.
So when you wrap your hand, called the spear, the other hand, called the shield, is used to ward off punches coming from the opponent. So you aim for any place you know you hit your opponent to get him weak and to knock him out. When you hit your opponent and then his knee touches the ground or his hand touches the ground, you are considered to have won him or to have knocked him down.
Dambe has such a deep tradition surrounding it. So it's not just sport, it's not just fighting. Dambe is mystical as well. So the athletes, before they fight, engage in supernatural forms of protection and augmentation. So if you ask any fighter, oh, you know, what do you have for protection? They won't mention a gum shield, they won't mention a groin guard. They might point to an amulet on their arm, which protects them from heavy punches. They might point you to a little cut on one of their arms, which makes their arm stronger. So, and you speak to these guys and they totally believe in it. It's not a joke, it's not a gimmick. These little charms and amulets that sometimes are carried from their village days and days away, and they believe that every time they step on the sands, they must have those with them. And it really just adds a different edge to it. It just shows you're seeing something more than just sport. It feels like almost a religious experience at times, and a truly African experience at that.
Shi wannan da kake gani shine zaren da muke shine igiyan da muke amfani da shi gurin wasan dambe, dan ba ma yin shi haka nan da hannu sai mun daure hannunmu. Wayannan da ka gani su ne garkuwa a gare mu game da harkan wasanninmu na sana'armu. In ba wannan ba wasa, ko ba haka ba, in kana da wannan za ka yi wasa, za ka ji daɗi, za ka ringa daure hannunka. Shi ko wannan yana taimaka mana ne game da tambayoyi. Mun san Allah ke yin komai, amma me su ma waɗannan suna ɗan taimaka mana wasu abubuwa, muna ɗan jin daɗi a jiki. Wannan kuma da ka gani, wannan magani ne irin namu da muke amfani da shi a gurin wasan gargajiya. To idan mun sa shi kan Allah na taimaka mana, shi ma kan dan taimaka mana mu dan ƙara jin lafiya a jikin mu, ko ba haka ba. To in mun je gidan wasa, idan mun babu wa'annan ba za ka yi wasa ba, saboda sai kana da wa'annan alamun shine ka cika dan wasa. In kana da wa'annan za ka ɗauko su ka zo kai wasa, ba wai za ka je da hannunka haka ba. Wasa ne na maza, kowa da abin da ya taka. Kai ka take naka, ni ma na take nawa.
Historically, it has its roots in warfare. So it would be used by different groups to settle disputes. And then as it developed, traveling groups of fighters, usually butchers, would practice it to entertain crowds.
Dambe is a very organized combat sport. It's organized in a way to show respect, to show love, and to show relationships. For instance, there are 3 houses in Dambe. We have the Gurumada, we have the Arewa, and we have the Kudu. So you don't bring someone from the Arewa house and pair him with a brother from the same Arewa house. They will not fight.
It's most closely aligned with the Hausa tribe, who are the main people who fight in Dambe. And wherever you have groups of Hausa people around Nigeria, you can usually find some Dambe fighters. And it's done everywhere. All you need is some sand and some rope and some fighters and you're good to go. In 2017, I was still working full-time in London, and I just started developing this idea. I always had this pull to home, and I always thought and knew that I wanted to do something in Nigeria, something in Africa, but I wasn't quite sure what. 2019 was just establishing African Warriors. It was working out exactly what we want to do with this. It was building relationships, and it was putting on our first events. There's so many stories to tell, and it's so exciting because we're just at the start of it. So we went from being an idea in 2017, and then I reached out to Emmanuel.
When Maxwell spoke to me about African Warriors, as a lover of sports, I thought about it very well, and I found out that traditional combat sports is what makes us unique as Africans, and I thought it's going to be a very good deal if we look into it and promote what makes us unique as a people.
I'm so proud of our team. Obviously, so much goes into African Warriors, and I certainly couldn't do it alone. And one thing I think we do amazingly is spot and find talent. I don't think anybody else could do what we do. We don't put out adverts to find athletes. We do something so much more and so much more grassroots. And Emmanuel does this amazing job of finding athletes, going into villages, going into towns, and literally finding the fighters there. If that means speaking to the local king, we find them.
African Warriors does not just go picking a random guy in the street. No. What African Warriors does is create a good platform for already existing champions to come and show the world what they can do. For instance, when we travel to Akwa Ibom, there are a whole lot of persons that are saying, I want to wrestle, I'm a good wrestler, but we're not just looking out for these people. There are guys that are practicing this craft in their own natural environment. These are the guys that we look out for. You have the talent. You've been doing this for a very long time, and we have not had the opportunity to showcase what you can do to the external world. Come fight for African Warriors and then have the opportunity of being showcased and of being seen by the global community.
We went, which is literally in a trash dump. Even the way the idea came together, I got on ground. I was like, okay, I need to just go and see what's happening in Nigeria. Growing up, I'd always gone, but I'd never gone with a view on this. But we spent how many weeks just walking around like boxing gyms in Lagos, going to like different towns and just seeing what's going on, like seeing what's the culture of fighting, seeing what have we got to work with here. This is how we decided on there's so much here that needs to be told on a wider level, that needs to be showcased in a better way. The reason I say now is the best time for it, because you look across international sport, particularly combat sports, and you're seeing people like Anthony Joshua at the top of the game of boxing. You're seeing people like Israel Adesanya, Kamaru Usman at the top of the game in MMA. So Africans are already ruling combat sports, and African Warriors is just my chance to contribute to that ecosystem. The athletes we feature are so skilled in what they do, and they do it so effortlessly because they've been practicing their whole lives. The traditions, the culture of the sport are within them. And we also feature wrestling. Wrestling is the oldest form of combat on earth. There's evidence which shows that ancient Egyptians practiced it. So it has a deep, deep culture and deep relevance across Africa. Wrestling was actually my first interaction with Nigerian combat sport. So when I was about 8, we went back for Christmas, and wrestling in Igbo culture is done around times of celebration. And so I saw these, at the time, like these huge men in my eyes, just like wrestling, and I was like, Dad, what is this, what's going on? And he's just like, this is wrestling, we've always done it and we're proud of it. So I've always taken so much pride in what we have to offer and what Nigeria has to offer. And I just feel like this is my opportunity to showcase something, and I think now is the best time for it.
In the olden times, when what mattered a lot was securing your boundary and the acquisition of land, men that are strong, men that are fierce, are being assembled to form as a security and guard to the communities and villages. And that is how it became a tradition to fight, to show another man that you are stronger than him, that you are better than him.
In Nigeria, there's such deep roots in wrestling, and it goes by many different names. Different tribal groups around the country practice wrestling in different forms. So it's known as many names, Kokowa, Mba, depending on which part of Nigeria you're from. But ultimately, the essence of it remains the same. Two men competing to show who's the greater champion. Historically, it might be contested when a man was looking to impress a woman and looking for a woman's hand in marriage. It might have been contested when a man was looking to represent his village and hopefully take home some prizes where he could feed his family.
You use any antics you have to ensure that he get his feet off the ground. Have him bend his knee, 2 knees and 1 hand to the ground, or have him touch his back. So anywhere around his body that he can grip firmly to show strength and energy, it is allowed. It is a sport that shows the strength and capacity of a man. And it is also a sport that accords heritage, prestige, respect to a man in a society. Age is not a barrier in wrestling and in Dambe. So you can have somebody who has started wrestling since he was 5 and having wrestled to the age of 17, 18 and has gained a lot of skill concerning wrestling. So that is kind of people we look out for. Most of the athletes that featured in our last event are people that fall within this category. And this is how they propagate future champions in their local environment.
We came from, at this point last year, being little more than an idea, something I thought would be cool to do, to have done 3 major events in 2 massive Nigerian cities, to feature fighters from around Nigeria and to build a brand which already is ringing bells internationally. There have been so many highlights of it so far. A great piece of CNN, having the BBC be interested, but most importantly, having fighters who have been plying their trade for years in villages and towns coming up to us and recognizing like, wow, this is really changing the game for us. This is really extending new opportunities and just getting amazing feedback that it's amazing to see these traditional combat sports, which mean so much to so many people, take a new form and hopefully be elevated. We put together our first event, and that was in Enugu. And we've now put a second event together in Lagos, the Battle for Lagos, in September 2019. And we've just finished with Coronation of Kings, which was our best event yet.
One time, Mama comes, say she not doing body. What are you doing? Son, you're dolly. 4 years in last week, she did nothing. Better money, don't we are starving. Mama then tell me, say she don't tell me. See, and my mama, you know, yeah. Say I be thinking, oh, I be thinking, oh, I be. One time, African warriors are Fighting championship, one time, ladies and gentlemen.
And then we had some amazing drummers as well, and we also had masquerades. And masquerades hold huge religious significance. Some would say they are incantations of deities. They hold such rich significance, and they joined us at the event just speaking to the traditional focus of African warriors. And there was this really touching moment where 3 of them came up to me and blessed me. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but it felt great. So we're going to be producing much more content which really highlights and tells the story of these sports, of these fighters, and just lets anyone, no matter where you are in the world, feel like you're in a village in northern Nigeria, feel like you're in a village in southeastern Nigeria, and really see what Nigerian combat sports are.
Oh yeah, Bunji Johnson, representing. Ain't no girl sludge. Marcelo, Yusuf, representing Lagos State. Join your hands together. Join your hands together for Marcelo Yusuf, representing Lagos State.
shagun ya faru isa ko ina da wansa kula sai garin da babu awaki isa shagun ya faru
na isa jafaru
La ilaha illallah ganu tainu wallahi ba wadanda da kai ba ba kauna ta aka tsoro saluna bada kura gare ku ba su awaki
You see you're pulling up. Oh my God, wallahi lokacin kashewa yi ruwa ta kadishi yara on the red shorts Dagon Kudawa on green shorts ruwa ta kadishi yara
So with this momentum and with this energy and the passion that I see in the team, I'm very, very optimistic that in the coming years that we are going to achieve greater feats.
With the African Warriors, we're looking to build a Nigerian, a Pan-African and international sporting giant. Africa has such a rich culture of combat sports. We started in Nigeria, the biggest market, where home is for me, but we can go way beyond that. So the vision really is growing in Nigeria, growing beyond, but it stays the same, continuing to give opportunities to athletes, building these athletes into stars, showing them that the sports they cherish can reach global audiences, and being the party that helps them do that. And there's so many directions we take it in, but it starts with that. It starts with entertaining people, having people see these sports in the very best setting, having people see these sports done in a way they've never been done before. And at the same time, making sure we always stay close to the traditions of them.